I'm Adison, one of the co-founders of a brand called P&Co. We were really inspired by American kind of West Coast, kind of vintage kind of fashion. So we kind of started from day one on Instagram and then kind of took all of our followers along with us on the journey.
The business set on fire, didn't it, in 2017? Is that right?
And he was like, sit down, I've got something important to tell you. And I was like, but yeah, who's died? And he just said, yeah, I've got off the phone to Dave. It's all gone. It's all gone.
Yes, they want some, really good clothes to wear, but also they probably just want to support you.
We've never seen the amount of sales ever, I don't think, in one single day. And it was almost, brought a tear to the eye, really, and how much people were supportive and how we kind of bounced back from just the customers and the community that we built.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 4 of the 0121 podcast. I am Lee Wilcox.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Every time.
I zoned out for a second then. And I'm Adam Barry, co-founder, chief content officer at Electric.
Seamless. Today's guest, I'm excited about. God, great story, an absolute belter of a story. Stuff that you can't. To be honest, it's the stuff that dreams and nightmares are made of. The person who's built an amazing e-com brand, but by no doubt has had some tremendous hurdles to cross when he's been doing it. A local Brummie, as always, and he's now sort of been able to step out of that business and do consultancy to drive and empower entrepreneurs to think big and help them with their brands. Really excited about today's episode with Adison Clark from P&Co. Adison, hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Brilliant to have you on, mate. First and foremost, what we like to do is just, give us a bit of an intro. Who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? And how do you get doing it?
Sounds like an episode of Blind Dates, but I like it.
Come on down.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Adison, one of the co-founders of a brand called P&Co. So we kind of set that up about, I think 10 years ago now, but officially 2013. It is. And yeah, we just kind of started the business two kind of mates bouncing ideas around. We just wanted to create something that was ours and kind of go off on our own paths, really. We were both very independent and we both kind of just wanted to kind of stand on our own 2 feet and make something, that was going to be remembered and people would kind of engage with. So at the start of it, we kind of started graphic designing for people, which was good. And then we kind of figured out, we're pretty good at designing merch for like bands and people like that. So that kind of stemmed to, well, let's look at clothing. And at the time, Instagram was just kind of taking off, that whole kind of, Facebook. I think you're probably similar to you guys when you co-founded the On the Tools. So we kind of noticed all of that was happening, but no brands were really kind of taking their stand on there and kind of, not giving back, but kind of connecting with their audience. So we kind of started from day one on Instagram and then kind of took all of our followers along with us on the journey. So we'd involve them in kind of behind the scenes photo shoots, where we were with factories, all of the design process. And we've really kind of built P&Co as a kind of massive community brand, as well as obviously good clothing and good products. So we've always kind of had this community side to it. So that's been, kind of 8 years running that to fast track to where I am now. So I've actually kind of exited the brand. I'm still a shareholder and still kind of, have some kind of dealings with them. But now I'm kind of using what I've kind of learned over the last 8 years to now work with other brands and kind of establish those guys and, make sure that they're getting the most out of their kind of social media strategy, their content, all of the kind of digital marketing, different channels you can use online.
There's so much I want to talk about there.
I think we just went straight into it.
Yeah, no, it's great. Particularly you leaving actually is something, but we'll loop back round to that. So did it started as a media business, like providing services?
We had a lot of people in bands that we knew that we needed like brand identity and merch and things like that. So we just kind of started just doing the odd, few bits and bobs for a few different bands in Birmingham.
I think it's a great story, and actually I hear this quite often, and there's a lot of good businesses that start as something else and then morph into something completely different. And actually,
that's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah,
tells you a lot about the people behind the business, doesn't it? You know, that they're adaptable and that you know, they ultimately follow the money.
Is that part of it? Is that what happened? Was it basically that you know, you mentioned then there's a bit of a thing where you're like, oh, actually we're really good at this, and then you go, why are we doing it for everyone else? Shouldn't we be getting paid more money? Was that the driver really, or was it the creative drive that changed the sort of direction?
Well, definitely, you know, money enables you to be your own boss, to do what you want. So that was definitely one of the drivers. But I think the other side was, you know, we were both into fashion at the time, and there was All Saints that were a bit boring. There was, you know, super dry, but there was no brands that kind of. We were really inspired by American kind of West Coast, you know, kind of vintage kind of fashion, and there was no really brand that were kind of taking that and kind of going, this is what we are, this is what we own. So that's kind of, you know, we were always kind of batting ideas around from that, like leather wallets and, you know, Red Wings and, you know, kind of salvage denims and things like that. And we just thought, you know, if this guy can do it from Superdry, who's gone on to, you know, grow the brand to a global success story, why can't we? So it's kind of similar to that. I mean, they started in a shed, I think Superdry did. We started very similar in a one man in his kind of unit in Nuneaton, printing, you know, hundreds of T-shirts for us at the time. So it's a kind of a similar story there, which is interesting.
And talk to us about where the brand is now. Like, obviously, you've still got some involvement, and I really want to loop back round for sort of more, I guess, of the audience that's running a business at the moment. Where is the business at now?
I mean, as I say, we kind of grew it through social media, so it's got, you know, a very strong, loyal following. I think there's about 350,000 followers on Instagram and so many on Facebook. But Instagram was a really cool kind of driver for us because our imagery sat so well on that platform. So, you know, we're shipping to kind of, I think it's like 56 different countries. We've got 150,000 customers. I mean, it's not, you know, multi-million pound business like some people do think it is. We've got a very, you know, good returning customer rate because our customers are so loyal. So we've just kind of, you know, kept that and made sure that everything we do is going to appeal to that core customer, because at the end of the day, they're the guys keeping you in business. They're the guys that are going to speak about you and kind of really, you know, resonate with what you're doing. So yeah, that's kind of where the brand is at the moment. I think there's about 14 staff members now, and we use kind of various agencies to look after different parts of the business for us. We just appointed a non-exec kind of CEO position, so he's kind of stepping in now and kind of making sure that everyone's doing what they're doing, everyone's 9 to 5, and, you know, growing the business in the right way, which is great. And then Lee is just absolutely flying with his kind of creative vision, and that's all he's ever wanted to do, and that's what he's, you know, incredible at. So he's kind of running up the design, you know, of the aesthetics and also designing the products, along with Jordan, who is the operations director, who's making sure that what Lee kind of envisions happens in the right way.
How has it been building a business with a friend? Because we get asked this all the time, and actually I don't know if you remember, Ad, but there were so many people along the way, particularly in the first couple of years, even when we'd started the business, we're like, you're mad, like, what are you doing? Don't do that. It's going to end in tears. How's that been?
I mean, we actually lived together, so the first kind of
it's even more, isn't it?
Yeah. So the first 2 years, it was great. I mean, you work your own hours, you kind of do what you want, and at that very startup phase of the business, it's very quick, isn't it? You kind of like, let's try this and let's try that, and we just kind of gelled, to be honest. And he kind of looked after all the product design and, you know, the photography, and then I kind of looked at the marketing strategy and made sure that whatever he was doing kind of got out to the right people in the right way. And so it worked really well, to be honest. And then when we lived together, I think sometimes I'd probably be hungover in the morning. He'd kind of like, you're going to come up and do some work or what? That was about it, really. We never really had the kind of big bust-ups or anything like that.
No, I think we've been pretty similar, haven't we, really, Lee? But we've known each other since we were, I don't know, like 10. Mm. So, and actually, I've never really liked him. So it's nothing.
Yeah.
We got introduced to each other through an indie record label that I was working for, helping those guys out. And then I found Lee's band, who were called Vows. And then we just kind of got to talking. We both were into graphic design and kind of photography, and just had a lot of similar interests really. And then the friendship went from there, and then we kind of started the brand, and then it was 8 years of kind of building it.
I always find it really interesting because you don't find many people that run businesses that are like have been friends for a period of time beforehand. I think probably there's a bit more of it now, I would say, but it was always one of those things that people say, but don't do that, you fall out over money, you'll never talk to each other again at some point.
Imagine if it was your girlfriend as well, it'd be even worse. I think there's a guy running a band called Honu, and he's kind of doing that with his girlfriend from up north, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's too close for home for me, that is.
No escape.
No escape. Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? Absolutely no escape. What I can see from what I'm reading, you quite and the business itself is quite sort of vocal on like its on its values and its vision and things like that. I was actually looking at one of the job advertisements you've got, and you can see that it's quite core to what what you're doing and how important were they. And I'm doing that thing here that we're doing on the podcast where we're just basically what Nathan said last week is just seek consultancy on people that are doing things. But the vision for me and the values and everything is something we're constantly trying to like work on and make sure that they're aligned. And how important was it for the business?
I mean, we used to look at the brand every 6 to 12 months and just always question everything. I would always be the one, is this right? What are we trying to be? Because I always look at the big guys and, Apple and, Microsoft, Nike, Adidas, and kind of, I'm a bit obsessed with finding people's brand identity guidelines and just having a look through what they were trying to create and if they're doing that. So for both Lee and I, it was kind of like, we used to make sure that whenever we had a meeting or whenever we were starting a new collection, that we'd make sure that those kind of values were in place. So we had Lee came up with the CBD rule, which was creative, brave, driven, and that those kind of three things ran throughout. And I think the staff kind of got on board with it as well, which is really good to make sure that they're kind of sharing in that kind of values and vision with you as well. I think that's really important. You guys seem to do that really well, actually. Whenever I'm watching your kind of LinkedIn or YouTube videos, you're kind of on the same page, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think you've definitely got a push for that at the moment, haven't you, Ad? In terms of the team and making sure that we're talking in and being sort of together in that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's you just got to look at our backgrounds, and I never knew I wanted to come into the creative industry at all. And Lee, you were pretty similar, but for you and Lee. To have that background in design and really understand what brand identity means, I guess that was always something that you felt really passionate about. Whereas for us, Lee, we almost have to lean on other people for that.
Yeah,
our vision changes all the time, really.
I don't think anyone really knows what it means. I wouldn't say we're the experts. I mean, Lee did a branding degree, but that he didn't really turn up to at all because we were building the brand. But it is a hard one, isn't it? What is brand identity? Even when you're kind of talking to clients that I'm working with now, it's kind of like it's everything really. It's nothing and it's everything at the same time. It's a bit of an anomaly, really, isn't it? You've got to believe it and you've got to have passion in it for it to work. Otherwise, if you don't have that, it'll just fall apart.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say we seem like we do it pretty well, and I think maybe we're just, or particularly I'm not hypercritical of like. I've read this thing the other day. I can't remember who posted it. Every business looks like it's on fire from the inside. Like you don't worry, you're doing all right type thing. I don't necessarily think it's on fire, but I think when you're trying to like drive a company forward and it's growing as well, and you want to try and make sure that everyone's, you mentioned it then about the team are on board with it, so that made that easier. And it's totally that, isn't it? It's about having as many people behind you trying to drive that forward, or ahead of you, however you manage and however you lead. It's doing that. I mean, on the topic of fire, and I didn't even mean to do that, but this question was more surrounding, how important how important was the vision and stuff. But the business set on fire, didn't it, in 2017? Is that right?
Yeah, literally.
Talk us through that. one, talk us through what happened if you can, and two, what effect that had, and what you had to sort of bring together. What was the size of the team at that point? Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, I'll have to send you the video actually that I've got of it.
There's a video of it.
Yeah, there's a drone video that some guys sent to us. I don't know how we got it, and it's literally so it was our warehouse. So we started the brand, you know, we were fulfilling it out of my bedroom, Lee's bedroom. Then we had a little warehouse, and it just kind of grew so quickly that we were like, this is too much for us. So we bought on a third party fulfillment company that did all of that for us. So they were based in Essex, and yeah, well, yeah, it was that a strip light in the building had just gone, and obviously it's all clothing underneath. So I think there was us, a brand called 304, Lazy Oaf, some sports kind of nutrition companies, and it's also the fulfillment that we were in is ASOS's abroad. So everything goes through this warehouse and then goes to like America, and it's the international depot. Sorry, so it was all of our stock and then the whole of ASOS's international orders for that week. So that all completely went up in smoke. I'd been to a friend's wedding the day before, so I was kind of just milling around my apartment in the morning, just kind of, you know, debating life and whatever happened at the wedding. And I got a phone call from Jordan, kind of saying, "You're right. Have you seen the news?" I was like, "Not really yet, mate. No, I've just woke up having a coffee, like." And he was like, "Sit down. I've got something important to tell you." And I was like, "But yeah, who's died?" I was like, "This is going to be this. You know, I hadn't got a clue it was going to be the warehouse had sat down, had burnt down." And he just said, "Yeah, I've got off the phone to Dave. It's all gone. It's all gone." I was like, "What do you mean it's all gone?" He was like, "Yeah, the entire warehouse has burnt down. There's nothing left. We have nothing." And that was kind of like, you know, when you just get that sudden rush of adrenaline. It was like that straight away. I didn't really have time to get upset or anything like that. It was just like, right, what are we going to do? Because we were also set on growing this brand. We were never not going to just like, you know, sit there and kind of think, oh, you know, this is happening. It was kind of like, right, what can we do now? So we all got, you know, together in the office. Kind of Jordan looked after the operations and figuring out, you know, how are we going to get stock back into the business as quick as possible. Lee Lee at that point was already looking into kind of changing the branding and things like that. So to be honest, it did kind of happen with the new brand. And then I kind of looked after, you know, how are we going to market this to our customers? How are we going to PR this in the right way and make sure people know that we are coming back? So it was just, you know, all hands to deck kind of thing, and just kind of, yeah, the next 2 weeks was just an absolute whirlwind. It was crazy.
How did that impact you financially? Was you covered for it? You know, did the insurance sort of like cover the losses, or was there a period of time before you sort of could claim any money back, and did you stand still at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it did take a while for we did have insurance, but it wasn't massive. It was, you know, cost price and things like that. So, you know, we did get some money back, but financially at that point, I think at that stage in the brand, we were still kind of doing concept collections. So we had like Liars and Crybabies, Slick Ricks and things like that. So we'd build these collections up rather than doing spring, summer, winter, autumn, winter. We'd have like story collections, and we'd released, I think it was about 3 or 4 different collections during that summer that absolutely skyrocketed us. And I think we just kind of switched the dial up with Facebook ads at that time. And the brand was in the biggest kind of stage of growth we'd ever seen. So it was literally the worst point for this to happen. So yeah, financially, it was for those kind of period of time that we weren't able to trade, that hit quite hard. But because we, you know, were open with our customers, we, you know, kind of made sure that they knew what was going on and we were coming back. Everyone kind of waited. And then the day that we, you know, that the new distribution was set up and we had stock in there ready to go, it was like Black Friday. It was nuts. We'd never seen the amount of sales ever, I don't think, in one single day. And it was almost, you know, brought a tear to the eye, really, and how much people were supportive and how we kind of bounced back from just the customers and the community that we built.
I think that shows something that hit when you said it earlier about, you know, you built a community of customers. And it's not easy to do, that isn't, you know, when you're trying to sell products, but I think that shows on that first day that people were almost, yes, they want some, really good clothes to wear, but also they probably just want to support you.
It's the underdog story, isn't it? That,
Yeah.
two lads from Birmingham that are making this global brand, and that's what we always set out to do. We want to make a global brand. That's what we always said. So I think it was kind of like people that have seen that first, post on Instagram of us packaging the orders and who've been on this journey with us. We're kind of like, right, let's get some orders in. Let's make sure they can kind of see it through till Christmas almost. So it was good.
That's an incredible story. Without trying to sound like we're trying to benefit from the podcast promo, but I've already know that Jamie's got the soundbite sorted for the promo, and it will be, I got told to sit down and all our stock, the whole thing had burnt to the floor. I didn't know what to do. It's there already. As you were saying, it was like, wow. This is, what was the period of time that it took you to get up and running again? Like, so you'd find out the day after the wedding, you're like, right, holy shit, everything's gone. And was it your whole stock as well at this point? Literally every bit of stock you got?
Everything. I always have this in my mind. We had watches at that time. I think we were just selling through them. So I always imagine that there's like this watch just like burnt into the ground somewhere. Everything, watches, mugs. We had leather goods. We had T-shirts. We had some jackets at the time. Everything. I think.
So how long does it take you then from that point? So you have the wedding. The next day you get that phone call, and then when does that amazing day that that you go, holy shit, we've been supported, everyone's waited, and now they're buying again? What's that period of time there?
I think it was literally 2 weeks. the 3PL that we'd partnered with, they had a resilient kind of strategy in place. So if this ever was to happen, they had a backup unit and a backup, systems and things like that. So they basically said to us, we'll be up and running within, I think it was like 4 days or something ridiculous. So, credit to those guys and Jordan for kind of managing that kind of whole process. So, it was kind of 4 days for those guys to get back up and running. And then we had some stuff in the air that hadn't landed yet. I think we had like half of our winter stock or autumn stock in the air, ready to go into that warehouse. So we obviously redirected that, which was quite lucky. And then because we had the benefit of printing T-shirts in the UK, we made our leather goods in the UK, we made our mugs in the UK, a few other things. We literally, Jordan kind of got on the phone to suppliers and said, look, this has happened. We want to place a reorder, but we need extra terms and things like that. And because the kind of relationships that we had with our suppliers, they were very supportive of that. And I think, we turned the T-shirts around in about 10 days or something ridiculous like that. And then everything else just kind of, flew on from there. And we launched it as it was in the warehouse. So it was very quick.
Amazing. I mean, there's not many people, there's not many businesses that can survive that type of thing. So, it's incredible. That is incredible. You mentioned earlier, I'm going to pull back to this now because I kind of want to, and it kind of leads into the next area we wanted to talk around, was that you changed roles as well, didn't you? I think whilst you were active in the business.
Yeah, quite a few times. I think it's the entrepreneur in me.
Did you start and grow as like the CEO or MD or however you term it through the business, and what did you go to and why as well?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, we didn't really have titles or anything like that. It was just kind of like we knew our roles and we just got on with them, to be honest. And then as we started, employing people and, people in the business wanted progression, things like that, we just kind of said, well, we're the two co-owners. So I just went into the CEO kind of position and then lead that kind of the chief brand officer role. And I mean, to be honest, my passion is marketing, is digital, it is brand. So that kind of CEO role for I think it was like 3 or 4 years was brilliant for me. But you kind of figure out what you're good at and what you're not. So as soon as we had the extra capital to put into more people and build the team around the business and for that to grow, I kind of thought, well, my role is 100% marketing, is digital, it's, customer experience, things like that. So I brought on people that would complement me and Lee. So the operations director, Jordan, and then we then eventually kind of, I was like, well, I want to grow further. I want to get someone that has the knowledge of growing a business that I don't have, cash flow, resources, working capital, all of that kind of operational and the CEO kind of role. You know, I wanted to go and get that from someone to kind of help with growth, to be honest. So I kind of took that decision to kind of get someone in who could kind of help with that. And then I just went into the CMO role and really kind of built out the marketing team, the marketing strategy, and how that was going to kind of develop from there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, I think, with people, you know, particularly founders changing roles through a business, because I think sometimes it's a negative thing in the sense, or can be seen as a negative thing.
Yeah.
On the basis of why though. So like, you know, if the business grows too quickly and you have to move out of a role, it's a bit different from what it sounds like it was with you, where it was actually your heart and passion was actually in that CMO role anyway, if it could be.
Yeah, exactly. So that, you know, yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great thing that we did that. The business now is, you know, in the best shape it's ever been because of the knowledge that, you know, Chris has kind of brought with him, and he's now kind of managing the team. So it's been, you know, good to see that.
Yeah, I think there's a good lesson there as well. With I think a lot of people, when they start a business, they want to try and do it all.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to have a life. You've got to have a life.
Yeah, and just don't try and don't kill yourself trying to be good at something that you just naturally not. Like, let someone else in and do it. And I've got a pretty similar path to you, to be honest. I've had about 4 different roles since we started the business, and I've always been about the creativity and the content, and that's where I'll kind of sit now. But yeah, I think there's a really important lesson there to sort of, it's okay to sort of like move. You don't, if you start off as a CEO in a business, doesn't mean that's where you're going to finish it in 10 years time. You can move through that business and pick a role that suits you and the business.
Definitely. And you want the business to have legs as well. So you want it to operate with you not even there, which is where I am now, which is amazing to kind of be in that position.
So, and a great segue to the next question is, how did you get to that point, and why did you step out of the business? Because it's unusual for someone to have been CEO, been able to then, or CMO, you know, and founder, and then step out of it completely, but then still keep some kind of like attachment, shareholding, you know, role, whether that's like a non-exec role or whatever. In a business. So can you, if you can you talk to us about what that journey was like when you realized that you wanted to sort of step away and you'd sort of reach that point of like, I don't want to be part of it for whatever reason, and what were the reasons for that as well?
I always kind of looked at the brands, you know, I wanted to do myself out of a job, to be honest. As silly as it sounds, but I wanted to build the brand up to a certain position so it could just run. And kind of 2019, when kind of Chris was in place, when we got the marketing team, you know, I was kind of, you know, almost had that itch really. I'd been there for kind of, you know, 8 or 9 years. I was in the office 9 to 5, so it was kind of, you know, very regimented, so to speak. And being an entrepreneur, I kind of like, you know, I wonder if I could, you know, kind of, you know, let the business now go and do what it wants to do, and then I can do, you know, other things. And I've always kind of had passions to work with other brands. You know, I've been fascinated by agencies, to be honest, and how they kind of work with the big kind of global corporates and how that kind of works. So I kind of just, you know, sat down with the guys and said, you know, what do you think about this? And you know, luckily they all kind of, you know, agreed and said, if that's what you want to do and that's what, you know, that's the direction you want to go in, let's make it happen. So we spent kind of, you know, 6 months in place developing up the marketing team and developing relationships with certain kind of agencies that could run different parts of the marketing for us. And then I was able to kind of step down in January, I think it was May actually, May 2020, to a non-exec kind of role, shareholder. And now I'm kind of, you know, free to do, you know, my next kind of projects and work with other brands, which has been just, yeah, a breath of fresh air, just to kind of have a bit of a change. Nothing bad against P&Co, but when you've been doing a business for that long, you know, and sharing on that vision, it's just nice to kind of have a break and work with other businesses and realize you're not the only business in the world. So I think you get wrapped up in it sometimes and you just like, you know, oh, P&Co, and that's amazing. But for, you know, your mental health and your well-being, it's good to just step out and think, wow, there's a lot of other businesses out there that are in a similar position. And that's kind of where I got to, really, kind of thinking, well, you know, I could take this brand from, you know, £100,000 turnover to 2 million with everything that I've learned quite quickly. So you start to think, well, that'd be a really interesting job role and an interesting journey to go on with another brand. And that's kind of what I've been doing the last kind of 12 months. I think it will be coming up 12 months in May. And it's just been a really cool journey to go on.
Do you think Ad? Do you think your level? Oh, sorry, Ad and Ad. This is bloody confusing. This is, and then your partner, your business partner is called Lee. It's a bloody nightmare. Ad and Barry. Do you think you'll ever get to a point like that in the business where you're like, actually, I'm ready to step out now?
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same question. 100%. Yeah, I think you know that anyway. I love what I do. I love my job. Nowhere near finished yet, but I'm young, 35, and I genuinely think by the time I'm 40, early 40s, I'll be doing something completely different. I really do. I spent 12 years in construction before coming into the advertising world. 12 years I was a shop fitter, ran my own business and stuff. Now I'm doing this, which is just insane. It's a completely different world. Yeah. And I think in another 10 years, I'll be doing something completely different again. And that excites me.
Exactly my thinking. I mean, I might open up a coffee shop, I might start a fragrance brand. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm loving it at the moment, just working with a whole variety of different businesses. I've got a drinks brand that I'm working with, a grooming brand, a coffee shop, a venue, a nightclub that isn't a good client to have at the moment, but it will be in June. A leather brand. There's lots of brands that I work with at the moment. It's just amazing to see their journey, hear their story, and then kind of step in and go, let's structure this business for you. And it's been fun, to be honest.
Yeah. Lee, I want you to answer that question now.
I do as well. I do think I will. I think I know exactly where I want Electric House to go and get to now. And I think the reality is that it's really, really difficult to find anyone who can do start up, scale up, mature through a business and those different phases. Like, we're stepping into scale up now. I'm very confident I can do that stage, right? And I know where I want to take the business, and I think we've got sort of shared vision. We've got great talent coming through the business. We're really well positioned in Birmingham. It's like nationally we're doing well. We're winning bigger clients. There's all these things that are ticking some boxes. Like the business was, 12 months ago when it had 50 people in, now it's got 100. It'll be 150 by the end of this year. When it gets to 300, 400, it's a completely different business. And I have no idea whether I'm the right person to do that. And I think there's this, there's a thing I was reading, I'm sure it's Reid Hoffman, the guy who ran LinkedIn, who does this, he spoke about this like tour of duties. He wrote like a paper on it. And it's basically like the notion that actually you should have stints in a business, and then you should review and evaluate your role as to whether you're the right person for that business in the next 2 years. And I kind of getting into that mindset now, and I know at the end of next year, I will totally review that. I will really try and hold a mirror up and go, okay, you know what the plan is. You've done the 2 year stint. You knew what, hopefully we're where we wanted to be. And then I have to go, am I the right person to do this? Or is it my time to leave? Like, basically is the reality of it. And I think me and Ad always talk about like the business, like clipping at our heels because it's growing a lot, and because we've never done it before, like we did, we're pretty open about that.
I mean, we had like, I think 14 people, 14, 15, and agencies and photographers and things like that. But yeah, I can't imagine how it is to kind of manage 100 people.
Yeah, and look, I don't.
People, yeah, a people person, definitely.
I like the idea of having a decade of doing things differently. I think that's brilliant. We had a guest on the podcast once who said he had a friend who did basically, that's how he ran his life. He every 10 years he would just rip up his whole life and start again and do something new for 10 years. He'd been like,
I think it's good, man. You got to have fun, haven't you?
Yeah, I think he'd been part of the clergy for 10 years. Then he went on to something like he'd done like mad stuff, and I was like, it's kind of like, I love the idea of potentially when I get to 40 being like, oh, I'm just stepping into something completely different, foreign, like,
Well, yeah, I mean that was kind of for me as well. We've been online for 10 years doing an online business, not face to face with customers, and it's very different. And I kind of, I almost want to kind of open up a shop or something like that, just because it's different. And you can get a lot of satisfaction and gratification from opening a shop and having that interaction with people. So who knows?
I know Ad is raring to get into the Birmingham section of the podcast. This is the 0121, and we like to celebrate Birmingham entrepreneurs. We want to highlight heroes of Birmingham. So I believe that Jamie has preempted you, which it sounds like he has, on highlighting someone. Do you have someone?
I don't have someone. I have a few.
Oh, nice. Oh, go on, far away.
I think 304, to be honest, the clothing brand that were in the same fulfillment as us at the time. And they always kind of inspire me because they move so quickly. As soon as something new comes out, if it's a social media channel or a trend or a certain design, kind of look and feel, they'll just jump on it and they'll do it really well. And I think that they don't get the credit that they need for at the moment for the size they are. So I think David and his team are just absolutely smashing it at the moment, which is good to be watching and kind of seeing what those guys are doing. And I definitely think the guys at DDC have just absolutely smashed it, especially through lockdown, kind of keeping the brand alive and moving around different parts of Birmingham and the West Midlands. I think they did one in Warwick, didn't they?
Just for people listening outside of Birmingham, DDC is Digbeth Dining Club. So it's an outdoor food festival, ultimately, that's on a weekly basis, usually, particularly during the summer, but hasn't been on for a while, but very much looking forward to getting back to Digbeth in general, to be honest. Just
I think there's a lot going on in Digbeth. It needs to happen. I think it needs to become the Shoreditch of Birmingham, and it's always said it is that. But I think that we need retailers in there. We need good independents. We need shops, and we need residential. So I think once they've got that, I think it's going to be a really interesting place.
Well, they've had the funding was announced this week. I don't know if you saw, for the Creative Hub.
No, wicked. No.
So there's like a new £18 million, 50,000 square foot creative hub that's going to be built in the Digbeth area, and I think they've had the first £3 million sanctioned for it, and then the rest will come as they're building. But they reckon it's going to open early 2022. And you've also got Steve Knight building his TV set, like £100 million TV set, and I think they're going to be. Yeah, he is, definitely is. And I think they're going to be heavily linked. So I think once you start getting, like anything, isn't it? It's like, I don't know if like King's Cross in London. Like that got built up ultimately because Google moved there. And then a few other businesses moved, and then London were like, oh shit, yeah, we need to like build a load of things around here because there's just so many people now. And I think that'll be exactly the same, is that once something credible gets built there that generates lots of jobs. And particularly in that industry where you're getting lots of people from outside of London, and everything starts coming sort of swarming around this hub for video, which is kind of what it's being built for. It's like film, TV, and creative video is what it's sort of being termed as.
Really cool.
I really think there's going to be a hell of a lot of things that get built around it, and then I think it will transform Digbeth. Not too much, I hope. I want it to still have that.
Well, you
want it to have that vibe, don't you?
Yeah, you got Muck Motorcycles as well, black metal from Birmingham. I just love what those guys are doing. I love that they're kind of flying the banner almost for Birmingham as well, which is really good to see. And their bike is incredible.
Ad is a massive fan.
Yeah, my first bike was a Muck 125 Black Sabbath. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm getting one hopefully this year. I've only got my I can get a 125, and then my full test was cancelled last year because of COVID. Yeah, I want a Hilts. I do.
Nice.
I
had one. I had a Hilts. He loved it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like the Great Escape as well. So when I found the motorcycles, I was like, oh my god, they've even got one that's like modelled on that. I was like,
have you been down there?
No, I haven't been down there yet. Again, me and my mate was meant to go down because there's a coffee shop inside the shop, isn't there? Me and we said we go down as well, didn't we, Lee?
Yeah. No, we need to still. We definitely need to get down there, don't we? Yeah, just wanted to ask about your consultancy and what you're doing in the Birmingham area, but also I guess wider than that, because it sounds like you're working with a number of brands. how's that going, and what's the future of that look like?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, at the moment, it's full time. I didn't expect it to be as busy as it has been. It's been amazing. I'm not working with any kind of Birmingham business directly at the moment, but that's not to say that I won't do. But it's just been really interesting, kind of word of mouth, to be honest. Once I kind of announced it on LinkedIn, things like that, just people get in touch with you, don't they? And it's just been interesting to kind of, you know, almost get brought into these businesses as if I was, you know, a founder or something like that, really. So it's been really good. I mean, you can't complain at the moment. You know, some of the projects that we have been working on, even though COVID has taken a massive hit on people's businesses, all of the kind of clients that I'm working with have experienced, you know, triple digit, you know, some have, you know, got triple digit or almost 4-digit growth just because they haven't really optimized their digital channels yet. So I'm really working with clients that have a great product and a great brand, and then going in and kind of, you know, figuring out how they do this on an e-commerce kind of platform. So that's been amazing to kind of be a part of some of the journeys so far.
Just finally, before we, I'd like to give you the opportunity to, you know, plug yourself, and maybe you can pick a client up in the Birmingham area. It doesn't sound like you need any more clients, but
definitely. I want to go to someone's office and not work from home for.
Where can people find you across socials, and how do they get in touch?
So it's just adisonclark.com, which is the website. 1D, no E on Clark, because everyone says that. And then I think it's @_Adison Clark again on Instagram, and that's really the main channels that I use.
It's like a really cool. It sounds like your name sounds like it's the name of a business.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
I do. People have said that they're like, "Are you starting an agency?" Because they see the branding, and I've got, you know, my typefaces, and it does lean quite well into that. But who knows?
Yeah, he's mentioned agency a few times. I reckon he's going to step into that world. Sounds like it'd be a good idea. Sounds like it's kind of already happening a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Great story. I'm glad that P&Co got back on its feet after the fire. Incredible achievement, and good luck with everything you're stepping into. And who knows what we see you launch next, whether we're with a fragrance or a motorbike or a leather brand, or I don't know. It'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you, and likewise you guys. It's good to be good to finally meet you, and yeah, well, it's good to see the business doing so well.
Yeah, no, thank you, appreciate that. And look, absolutely, you need to get over to the office when we're allowed back in there. We're not in there at the minute, but yeah, come over and see us. We'll have a beer at the bar and talk brand. I love a bit of brand vision. You can we'll talk that all day long.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good.
Brilliant.
Really good to meet you.
Yeah, and you guys.
Well, that was incredible. Really, really enjoyed that. What a story.
Yeah, harrowing. When he was on about, I shouldn't be laughing, but when he's on about the fact that it burnt down, and that Jordan guy rang him, his ops guy rang him and was like, "You need to sit down." I was thinking, oh my God, I hope we never have to go through it. I hope you never ring me like that. Like,
yeah. If I do, it would be something so like ridiculous, wouldn't it? Like, Lee, there's no biscuits in the office.
Yeah, you're gonna do that to me now, aren't you?
Yeah, I tell you what else was really good about that podcast is the amazing people in Birmingham that he highlighted. You know, that 304 clothing brand. I've never heard of that before. Went straight on there, looked. I was like, this is amazing. I'm as soon as I get paid, mate, I'm on there.
Really good episode.
But yeah, it was. If you enjoyed it as much as we did, please don't forget to subscribe to our channels, leave a review, and actually in the review, tell us, you know, your favourite part of the podcast and potentially what you want to hear from us in the next one. Did I miss anything there, Lee?
No, you've not missed anything. It was a beautiful call to action at the end of the podcast. I've been Lee Wilcox.
I've been Adam Barry.
And this has been the 0121 podcast. Love you all. Goodbye.